Welcome to Recapping with Cam. Have a seat. It's very Chris Hansen of me. Why don't you have a seat over there? I've been watching a lot of Amazon Prime I've found recently. I think they've got a good range of horrors, which is why I spend a lot of time on there. I watched a pretty good one. I'd say 2/3 of it was good. It's called A Good Marriage, and it's based on a Stephen King book. I'm going to spoil it, so fast forward if you want to watch it yourself. It did come out in 2014 though, so maybe you should have watched it faster. It's about a husband and wife. They've got 3 kids. So yeah, like I said, I'm about to ruin it. It's called A Good Marriage, and at first it starts off as one. And then about 15 minutes into the movie, you realize, oh, okay, the husband goes on these road trips where he kills people. And he's been keeping it a secret from his wife. His wife finds out about it at the 20-minute mark of this 2-hour movie. And she's so certain, she's so set on turning him in. He comes home from this trip of killing. She's like, oh, I'm pretty upset. And he goes, all right, well, you turn me in if you want. Don't worry, I won't kill you. And she's like, I'm gonna. And then he goes, yeah, but you should probably think about how shamed out our kids will be if I go to prison for killing. And she goes, oh, all right, I won't tell anyone. And then for a year, like the movie shows you their life carrying on as normal for a year. Like they go to all these parties, they dance together. They're always going out. And they're like late 60s. And then she decides, because you keep thinking, like, why is this movie, is she going to do anything? Is she really just going to go, oh, I'll just keep this a secret? Because my husband said, imagine how shamed our children would feel. And then a year passes and she shoves him. She shoves him down the stairs. And when she tells this whole story to a private detective who's on his deathbed, as her way of being like, oh, I confess to this thing, but please don't chuck me in prison. And she's like, yeah, I just needed a year to come up with that plan. What a loser. You could have done, you at least use a weapon. Like if you're going to think of how to get revenge on a killer and it takes you a year, it better be creative. You better be involving a cult or forging a new weapon. If you've had a year to think about it, don't do it with a shove. It took me a year to think of a shove. Oh, worst revenge story ever. I'm on TikTok. Yeah, I know. I work in social media, so I sort of feel like I have to be aware of what's going on there. And I have to know, like, what are the trends? How can I help businesses understand how they should be on TikTok? But someone that stood out to me, yeah, TikTok can be a lot of people dancing and pointing at words as those words appear over their heads. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a drainer, but sometimes something pops up and you go, you know what? I think that person's kind of cool. Philip, you are a professional fiddler.
Correct. Yep. I'm a professional fiddler. I've been playing the fiddle / violin my whole life since I was about 4 years old.
Yeah, man. And did you have something that you saw play it and you're like, that's what I want to play? Like, what drew you to the fiddle?
So I grew up in West Virginia, which is a very small state in the U.S. for those of you that don't know, but it's got a really great like folk music, bluegrass scene. And so my parents took me to like a folk bluegrass festival when I was a very little kid, and just being able to like see the way like that kind of music came together. It's very similar to jazz in that like all the musicians kind of play off each other and feed off each other. And so just being around that type of vibe and music, like it just brought me a lot of joy. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I really got hooked into it there.
Absolutely. I discovered you scrolling through TikTok. Well, TikTok doesn't even, you don't need to scroll. You're just staring at TikTok. And it showed me your Linkin Park Numb cover.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've had periods in my life where I've been like, oh, Linkin Park is lame. But as I watched your cover,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm really getting into this. And
Yeah.
you were really getting into it. And I think that's what stood out. I was like, man, this guy is going for it. He's so passionate about rocking out to this Linkin Park cover. What made you decide to cover that song?
Well, okay, so that's a funny thing is so that I do a lot of live stream shows, especially in 2020. In the part of the country that I'm in, like you can't really, I mean, everything's still pretty much shut down, so you can't really do a lot of live shows. So I started live streaming, and it really just kind of blew up. So what I do in these live streams is once it really gets going, people will request songs, and they'll send me tips and request songs. So this one lady, I can't remember what her name was, but she said, hey, she sent me a tip and said, I would love to hear you play the fiddle over Linkin Park. So I just pulled up, like, I remember that Linkin Park had done this album with Jay-Z back in the day, and I remember liking the beat of this one song, and that's the first song that came to my mind. So I looked it up on Spotify, I started playing it, I just kind of went for it, and so that was like the first time I've ever played that. Like the video that you were watching, that was just kind of like, I was trying to play with the track and keep it going.
Wow. So you were listening to it. You're figuring out how to play it as you were playing it.
Yeah. Like. So, I mean, I've heard the song before, so I'm a little bit. I don't know, like music. Sometimes with me, like once I hear it, you know, or especially once I play it. But if I'm hearing it, like it doesn't. It just, I don't know. It kind of sticks with me.
Yeah.
And so I was playing. So when I'm streaming, I have like an iPad set up, and it's hooked up to my Spotify or whatever. And so that way I can like play with like lo-fi tracks or people request songs. So I found that as an instrumental version on Spotify as the people are talking, and I start listening. I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally vibe with this. Like I recognize the key that it was in. It was a good violin key. And so, and I knew the song from like hearing it, you know, back in the day. But I mean, yeah. So anyways, I just kind of went for it, you know?
That's impressive. That is quite a talent that you've got there. And aside from the live streams, how often are you live streaming at the moment?
I usually do 2 to 3 a week. You know, sometimes I do less or more. And the main platform that I've kind of got into is via the Reddit public access, like RPAN, which is their streaming service. I do some on Twitch and YouTube, but Reddit has been super good to me in terms of like the new people that I can reach and stuff like that. So I mainly do it on Reddit.
I didn't know Reddit was big for live streaming, to be honest.
It's gotten bigger. Like, so they started it maybe at the tail end of 2019, at the very end of that year.
Yeah.
And so this is probably too long of a story, but I started doing it when I was just kind of at home working, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe I'll just go in there and play. Like I saw other people doing it. It was when it was brand new. And I did one, and I was just taking requests off the cuff, and it just blew up. I mean, it was ginormous. And so I was like, okay, I like this. So like I started investing more into that platform, and it just has kind of been, I've stuck with it ever since. It's been really, really good to me. So
have there been any covers that you've played and you've been surprisingly pleased by how well they've turned out? Have there been requests where you're like, oh, I don't know if that's going to work on the fiddle, but then you've gone, oh, actually, that was all right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Linkin Park one was one because I mean, that's a band that I hadn't thought about probably since I was in college, and so I was, you know what I mean, like, and the first song is like, you know, it starts with like the In the End song that they had that was, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then I remember like a buddy of mine like had that Linkin Park Jay-Z combo album. I remember that specifically. And that one song, Numb, I was like, oh, that beat was just fire. I loved the beat. And so that's what popped into my head. And so I was like, well, I'll see if I can find it and maybe it'll be okay. But then like I did it once and then people just kept requesting, do that again, do that again. So that's like an example. And I've got things like, I don't know, some people request like Britney Spears or, some like random pop artists that maybe I don't play a lot. But
Yeah.
I think that one thing I always enjoy is people can be surprised at what like an instrument like the violin can do when you're taking it out of a non-traditional setting, and so like for example, like people always will send me now like, oh, I made a lo-fi beat, can you play over this? And so like I love that kind of stuff, and it just kind of like expands. It's good for me too because it helps me like think different musically and stuff.
That's nice, man. I actually, over the last few days, recorded an acoustic EP. So my
Sweet.
I love is kind of pop punk. So I like Newfound Glory, Blink-182,
Yeah.
Green Day, that kind of thing. But I recorded an acoustic EP, just 3 songs that are kind of in that vein.
Sweet.
I can send it to you, and if you feel like whacking
Totally.
the violin over it during a live stream once the song's finished, we should do that.
Totally. Yeah. Send it my way. I'll totally do it because people will send me things now pretty frequently and be like, hey, can you just do this on the next stream? I was like, sure, I'll try it. Let's go. So
I'll give it a whirl.
sure.
Yeah. Nice, man. You mentioned high school being the period where you had last thought about Linkin Park. When I was in high school, the kind of person that I was, quite similar to the person that I am now, actually, like obsessed with pop punk. A little bit annoying, a little bit introverted, but like hanging out with a group of normally 2 to 3 people. What sort of dude were you in high school?
I mean, I was very much into music. I've always loved music. I mean, that's been but and actually I went to a smaller school in a small town, so like everybody knows everybody. Like my graduating class was less than 10 people. Like it was very, very, very small. And so you kind of mix with all the different grades because it's your universe is very small. And so I mean I really was into sports, watching sports, and I played basketball and a few other things. I love that, and just kind of a goofy kid, but I've always been very eclectic with music. The place I grew up in was pretty culturally diverse, so like I grew up everything from like gospel to hip hop. My mom loved like some of like the old like stuff you'd hear like on like the love song radio, and then like Barry Manilow and stuff like that. So, and my dad loves the Bee Gees, so it's kind of this weird mix of like Southern music and the Bee Gees and hip hop. And so like I was exposed to a lot, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, I just was kind of a nerd, man. I mean I love like fantasy and Star Wars and all that stuff.
Same here. Grew up watching Star Wars, Star Trek, reading Judge
For
Dredd
sure.
comics. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, that's me.
Who was your best mate? Who was your best friend in that high school period? Did you have somebody that you bonded over these bands and Star Wars with?
Yeah, for sure. Like I had, I mean, my brother and I are very close. My brother is like 2.5 years younger than me, so we're super close. Like a lot of the same stuff. I'm probably like a little more on the nerdy side with some of the like shows and stuff I like than he is. But yeah, I have a couple. I'm blessed in that I have a couple of my best friends. This kid named Todd and this other guy named Adam, and we grew up all together. And we're still best friends. Like every year, like no matter where we're all living, we get together over Christmas. We do a gift exchange still. We get each other video games and, silly things. And so.
What did they get for you this year for Christmas?
Oh, man. So this year I got so one of my friend Adam works in sports now. He's a play-by-play announcer and a sports information director. So we always get like a bunch of cool gear from the school that he's working at. So at a university, so I got some cool gear. Wow. I got a couple of video games. I got like the new Assassin's Creed game, which I'm super stoked to play. Got some. I got some silly food gifts like spreadable salami. I've never heard of that. So we always get each other like some weird gifts.
Heard of spreadable salami either. Is that if you didn't get told, like say somebody gave you a cracker with it on and you took a bite, would you be like, oh, that's spreadable salami? Or is it you only know that it tastes like that because it has it on the label? Is it one of those?
Like I haven't tried it yet, and the guy that got it for me was like, oh no, I totally use this in cooking. Like I use it in cooking all the time. So like for pasta or something.
Oh,
So
you don't use it. I was picturing that you use it kind of like with cheese and like maybe with patty
yeah,
on top of a cracker, but he mixes it in with his pasta.
that's what I thought too. I was thinking like, oh, I'll do it. It's like a something you'd see on like a charcuterie tray or something, right? But like,
Yeah.
he's like, no, I cook with it. Like I make this one great. It's like a spicy. It's a spicy spreadable. It's a spicy spreadable salami. And so he's like, no, you don't. You got to cook with it, man. So he's gonna send me a recipe, I guess. So I'll definitely keep you posted on the results. I don't know. That's something I never heard of before this Christmas. So
And maybe he's doing it wrong as well. Like I know we're trusting him because he's the one who sent it to you, but there is a chance that maybe it's supposed to be on crackers and he's gone left field with it. Maybe he,
exactly. I mean, it's very possible.
yeah.
It's very possible. I mean, just looking at him, he's a very nice guy, but he doesn't. Some people you look at them and you're like, I don't know that guy. I don't know if I can trust him right off the bat. And so the best way I can describe my friend Adam is that he's the type of guy that would give you spreadable salami, and that's all. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
You don't even need to introduce yourself to him. You can just look at him and go, he's the kind of guy that will give me spreadable salami.
He did also get me a green screen. Because as you can see, like from this wide angle shot, like I have a backdrop behind me, and he knows I stream a lot. So I'm gonna try the green. I don't know what I can do. I've been thinking about it a lot since he got it from me. Like what kind of background? The possibilities are endless. I could be streaming from the moon.
Change the background to a pile of spreadable salami.
Yeah, I like that. I like where you're going with that. Yeah, like, and I could just do different types of like cold and warm appetizers throughout the course of the year. Like a plate of Kalamata olives or something.
I love it. Hey, I know that I didn't. I'm sort of about to put you on the spot, but tell me if you don't want to do it. But one of the tunes that I saw as I was looking at your other videos that was beautiful, to be honest, was your cover of the Cure.
Yeah.
And it really shows what an amazing singing voice you've got. So you look at all of your videos, you're like, okay, this guy's the man. He's passionate about
that's nice.
violin. But you dig a little deeper and you're like, you've got many other musical talents and a voice that I would say, without even being too I hope it's not too complimentary, but it's angelic.
Yeah.
And I would
thank you.
Would you be willing to play a little bit of that Cure cover now? Are you set up enough to be able to play?
I mean, I've got a guitar behind me. Let me see. But yeah, thank you. I love to sing, and for a long time I didn't want to sing in front of people because I think this was at the end of high school, or like this girl I was kind of hanging out with was like, "Oh, your voice is weird." And so I was like, oh, so it gave me this, how it goes, like when you're 19, I was like, oh man, it gave me this like complex about my singing voice. And then I really love to write music. And so I'm going to look up the lyrics for this real quick because I don't want to screw it up. But anyways, I love to write music. And so what I was endeavoring to do this year was to write a lot more and to get some of my stuff recorded and done. And so I kind of used the violin stuff as a conduit into my musical world, because if you look on any of those streaming things, and there's nothing wrong, I love the guitar, but there's a blue million people that are playing guitar and singing. And so it's hard to kind of let yourself stand out from that when that's all you're seeing. So what I wanted to do is I love playing the fiddle. So I wanted to do that. But then I said, what else can I do, to bring people in? And so what's so great, the best thing in the world to me now is I'll be streaming and people will start asking for some of my songs by name and stuff like that are my songs. And so that makes me really happy. And so I've just been working hard, trying to write like crazy. I've got a few things going in the studio and trying to get some songs published and things like that. So anyways, I love doing that. I love doing that, but yeah, that's me.
I just want to say to that girl, she's an idiot. I think it's always good to, when somebody says something about what a skill that you're good at, and if they're putting you down, have a think about what they do. So sometimes people have said to me, I don't really enjoy your podcasts, or I don't like your music. And if you stop for a second and go, are they a professional in either of those fields? Are they somebody who's excelled in podcasting or excelled in music? And you go,
totally.
No, No, they're a grumpy library worker. Like,
I know.
why am I letting a grumpy library worker tell me they're not a fan of the structure of my podcast? So yeah,
Well, yeah, I totally relate to what you're saying because, and I think anything you do, like what you're doing now, like just for example, the podcast stuff, or whether you're doing podcast or comedy, or if you're trying to write or whatever, you know, there's always going to be people that love to be the first person in line to tell you like what a waste of time it is.
Yep.
And so the best piece of advice I got early on was somebody told me like, hey, if you dream about it, then be about it. If you dream about it, be about it. And so like, you know, like if you just keep creating, the right people are going to hear it, you know, and so if you're thinking of starting something out, just try to stick with it. You know, don't listen to the girl from high school. Trust me.
Absolutely.
All right, let's try to do some of The Cure. I don't care if Monday's blue, Tuesday's gray, and a Wednesday too, or Thursday. I don't care about you. It's Friday, I'm in love. Monday, you can't fall apart. Tuesday and Wednesday break my heart. Oh, Thursday doesn't even start. It's Friday, I'm in love. Saturday, you wait. And Sunday always comes too late. But Friday, never hesitate. I don't care if Monday's black, Tuesday, Wednesday, a heart attack. On Thursday, never looking back. It's Friday, I'm in love. There you go. There's a little bit of that.
Oh, beautiful, man. I appreciate you doing that. I know I gave you
No worries.
No warning on that. So
That's fine.
So thank you.
It's such a good song. It's such a good song.
Oh, it's amazing, right?
It's so good.
What's on your horizon? What's coming up in the next little while? And where can people check out your music and promote yourself, man?
All right. So my name is Philip Bowen, and one L in the Philip. So you can find me. The best place is probably Instagram. It's Philip Bowen Music. I'm on Facebook and TikTok and all that good stuff too. That's all the same handle, Philip Bowen Music. And right now I'm working on a few different things. I've just finished a track in the studio that I'm hopefully releasing in February. It's called Every Season. I'm super happy with it. So it's just kind of going through the mastering process right now in the studio. And I've got a few other tunes that I'm working on. I'm more along the lines of like kind of releasing things single by single. And so I've got several songs I'm working on. If you want to catch one of my live streams, I'm on Reddit, and you can usually find me on Reddit Sessions. And I do have a Discord channel and things like that where I make announcements when I go post. So the best like kind of hub for all that, if you go to my Instagram page, if you're into Instagram and you look for Philip Bowen Music, there's a link in my profile that has all my links like Discord and Spotify, iTunes, however you get your music, you can find me, Philip Bowen. So I don't know if there's a song that I'm going to say, if you want to check it out, my song Lightning Bugs has done really well this year. So you can check out my song Lightning Bugs on Spotify or however you listen to music. Come say hey. I'll try my best to try to respond to everybody that reaches out. So, definitely come say hey and I'll be around. I got lots of good music coming up in 2021.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Philip. Thank you so much for making the time to chat to me. And if you're open to it, let's do this again. Once the EP has been mixed and mastered, I'd love to throw it your way and see what violin track you can whack over top of it during one of your live streams.
Would love to, man. And thanks for reaching out. It's funny because like there's some people that I'll interact with, and I feel like even though we have just met today and you're down in Australia and I'm here in the US, I definitely feel like I've known you for a while. Like I feel like we're very similar. So this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for inviting me and reaching out and inviting me on here. And I'd love to come and hang out again sometime, anytime.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Recapping with Cam. Thank you, Philip, for joining me on this episode. I'm talking to you now, my dear listener, not you, Philip. Philip, you can go. You already have. If you see something in your news feed and you're like, I'd love to have a chat with them, then do it. Or if you'd like me to talk to them, send me a link to their video and I'll see what I can do. All right.